What's going on YouTube? This is Brian916. Thanks for tuning in. Just like the title says, we're going to be talking about mechanic versus technician. I know there's a lot of videos like this on YouTube where, auto techs discuss whether or not, we should be called mechanics or technicians. So I thought I'd do a video on it, throw my 2 cents out there on what I think about the issue. So this issue has been widely argued in this industry whether or not we should be called mechanics or technicians. So I'm basically just going to give my 2 cents, my opinion on the topic and how I feel about the title. So I guess if you were to ask me, are you a mechanic or auto technician? 5 years into it, I probably would have said I feel like I'm an auto mechanic through and through. I don't know about this technician talk, but I'm a straight up wrench turning, gearhead, knuckle busting auto mechanic, and that's kind of how I felt about it. And if you were to ask me that same question 10 years down the line, I probably would have told you it's the same thing, doesn't matter. Technician, mechanic, cop, police, doctor, physician, lawyer, attorney, custodian, janitor. It's just another way, mechanic, technician. It's another way of saying what we do. And there's some truth to that too. But now, ask me now, Brian, the auto tech that has been doing this for years, well over 15 years, I would say technician is the proper term for auto mechanics. I know the general public looks at us as mechanics. They don't necessarily know us as technicians. I'm always referred to by people that I've befriended from working on their cars over the years. If they invite me somewhere, if I hang out with one of my customers, slash friends now, they always introduce me to some of their other friends as, this is Brian, my mechanic. I've never had anybody say, this is Brian, my auto technician. So I know that, most people refer to us as mechanics. So, if that's the way we're seen, then to a certain extent, that's what we are. But there's really a lot more involved than the average person realize, in the work that we perform. In this day and age that we live in, this is 2018, every device and equipment nowadays is, integrated with computers. At the very least, technology has been, mastered and improved over the years to the point where most things are highly technical, including vehicles today. So if you were asking me today, of course, I'm an auto technician because time has changed and the vehicles are 10 times more complicated than they were back in the days of the old push rod carburetor engines. Also, you got to consider that a lot of people don't understand that there's varying degrees of skill level within this industry that will basically separate or classify one technician from another. Most people, the general public, don't know that. If they go and get an oil change from Jiffy Lube, they think that those guys in there are auto mechanics, and those guys are far from being auto mechanics, auto technicians. Now, if you change oil for a living, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I ain't saying there's anything wrong with changing people's oil. What I'm saying is the rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than draining and filling someone's oil. Now, those guys who are lube techs, they get the title technician when you could probably go to most quick lube places and ask any one of those employees, what does the W stand for on 5W20? And they probably won't even know what the W stands for. They probably think it stands for weight. We all know it stands for winter. So to get the title technician, and all you're doing is changing oil, you really don't know much about engine lubrication, is a stretch. So if I was to ask a lube tech, you know, what's the purpose for, you know, putting anti-foaming additives in an oil, they probably would have no idea what I'm talking about. Or if you was to ask them, you know, what type of detergents do they use, or why should they use a detergent in a motor oil, or what type of chemical additives are added to you know, motor oil. Like, give me some details on engine lubricants, since you are an engine lubricant technician. But that's not the case. Those guys just crack drain plugs open and drain people's oil. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, just because you have the title technician on your job title doesn't necessarily set you apart or rank you higher than someone with the mechanic title. Because I can tell you what, if you take your car to a mechanic, he probably knows a lot more about engine lubrication than a lube tech at Jiffy Lube. So on the flip side of that, if you were to take your vehicle to a mechanic, someone who didn't have a technician title on his name, I'm pretty sure that mechanic is going to be a lot more suited to change your oil, or at least give you, you know, the proper service, knowing a little bit more about lubrication, even though he's not quote unquote a lubrication technician. That mechanic knows about vehicles that use oil pressure timing chains. He knows about engines that use, you know, variable valve timing solenoids that operate off of oil pressure. And, you know, maybe in a Honda where the VTEC is operated off of oil pressure, whatever the case may be, in terms of oil pressure operated devices on vehicles. That mechanic knows it's important to put the right oil weight in there, otherwise the oil may not be able to fit into the orifices of whatever those devices are. So likely you're going to get the proper service, whereas most lube places need to recommend a service off of profit. Whereas auto mechanics, we don't really make our money per se off of oil changes like lube places do. So we may be a little bit more keen on doing what's best for the vehicle. So that brings me to this on this topic of mechanic versus technician. I know you guys probably seen Eric the Car Guy did a video a while back. Shout out to Eric the Car Guy. He did a video with holding a scan tool and holding an impact gun. And in the video, he basically held up the scan tool and said, technician, mechanic. So I actually disagree with that analogy, if you will. And I see where Eric was going with that. I understand the point he was trying to make. But the reason why I disagree with that is, just because you plug in a scan tool doesn't automatically qualify you as a technician, much like a lube tech who gets the title technician, even though he probably knows nothing about engine lubrication. So the point that I'm making here is auto mechanics who work on modern vehicles are very much technicians. Obviously we use scan tools too. We may not specialize in diagnostics. That's a personal choice if a person decides to go into just being a diagnostician, and that's nice. But that person, yeah, is a diagnostic technician. But an auto mechanic is very much a technician. Dealing with modern vehicles, I can think off the top of my hand, BMW's variable valve timing, the Vano system, is highly complicated. Dealing with Chrysler's dual overhead cam V8s with, you know, 3 timing chains, dealing with, you know, all variable timing hubs And just setting valve timing on some of these modern engines are very technical and require special tools and equipment. I mean, just to do a brake job on some Audis, you need a scan tool to be able to retract the brake caliper piston. So just because you use a scan tool or you prefer diagnosing doesn't mean or set you apart. Everybody sort of chooses in this business which lane they want to be in. You may have guys who go towards transmissions, guys who go towards engines, suspension, electrical, air conditioning, diagnosing, and all of those guys are technicians in their own right. But the point I'm trying to make is that everybody has their area of expertise. So all of us are technicians. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that there's varying skill levels in this industry, and there's varying specialties in this industry. So if one person chooses to go into diagnosing drivability issues strictly, then it doesn't make that person a technician and everyone else is not a technician. That would be, in my opinion, a foolish assessment. It's just what that person chose to do. Obviously, a lot goes into mastering that and becoming a technician, so by all means, they are skilled, highly skilled technicians. The guys who use scan tools quite a bit. But at the same time, all of us have to use scan tools to be able to diagnose. Whether you do brakes, whether you do engine repair, transmission repair, or anything else. So, are we mechanics or technicians? My take on it is we're technicians, obviously, because the vehicles nowadays in 2018 are very technical, and it takes a technician to work on them. We came a long way from carbureted pushrod V8s, although I love a good pushrod motor. We deal with a lot more complicated engines nowadays, and so mechanics or guys who quote unquote do nuts and bolt work are very much technicians to be able to get in there, diagnose engine problems, and to repair them properly. Definitely takes a skilled technician to work on modern vehicles. So anyway, that's my take on it. I do believe we are technicians, like I stated. So I stand next to being called technicians. That's more suitable for the type of work that we do, okay? Because it's not mindless work. There's a lot of thought involved. I know many of you mechanics and technicians out there can attest to losing sleep at night over, diagnosing someone's vehicle or trying to diagnose a complicated problem that, you may have figured it out in your sleep or something like that. You know what I mean? Because obviously your mind's still thinking about it because it's complicated. All right, so anyway, that's where I stand on this issue. I know the general public refers to us as mechanics, and that's okay too. Whether you do electrical, AC, diagnosing only, engine repair, rebuilding, or changing oil, the general public sees us as mechanics. So we still have to embrace that title as well. Anyway, this is Brian 916. Please hit the like and subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.